Should I take a picture of John and send it to
Good
him?
evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Norfolk Planning Board meeting on Tuesday, September 14th, 2001. Let me introduce our board members. I'm Chad Peck. To my left is Chris Mutford. To my right is Gary Searle and Gary Sullivan. John Weddleton will be joining us via Zoom. There he is. Also joining us this evening is Town Planner Richard McCarthy, Administrative Assistant Betsy Fajol. This evening's meeting is hybrid. We are here in Town Hall in person, while others are joining us remotely via Zoom. Please note that this meeting is being recorded both audio and video, and some attendees are participating by video via Zoom. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you. And such, take care not to share your screen of your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured and recorded. With that said, let's get started with the first item on the meeting agenda, which is a public hearing at 7 p.m. We are here to discuss 228 Dedham Street, site plan, special permit, and stormwater management permit applications. It is my understanding, Rich, that they've asked for a request for continuance?
Yes, they've asked for continuance to the October meeting. Last Thursday, I did a site walk with Phil Paris from Beta Group, along with the applicant, and their designer, Rick Goudreau from United Consultants, and we talked about the operation, the site layout, the proposed site plan, and on yesterday, Beta Group provided a peer review report that's going off to the engineer and the owner to go through. So they, long story short, they have requested continuance, so they'll be more prepared and ready to get into it next month.
For the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we need a motion for continuance.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That approved. Chairman says, or Vice Chair says aye, so we are good to go. All right, so we have a...
Did you capture how John voted? Or?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I don't think he's allowed to vote since he's on Zoom.
Oh, is that?
No, he can.
He can. I am
Yeah.
sorry. John, what is your vote on the continuance for the public hearing?
Yes.
No.
Can't hear it in here.
I can't hear it in here.
Yes.
Might be in the sunroom there. We're doing something.
Can you-
Can you
Try again, John?
try again, John?
Yes.
No.
He's saying
He said
yes.
yes.
Okay.
She
so,
can.
so on the recording, it will be recorded that John is saying yes.
Is that any better?
That's an unanimous decision.
So we will,
So we will revisit that at what?
what's that?
October 12th. Goes back at 7.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Yep, 7 o'clock, October 12th.
Yes.
Next item is the review of Willow Place A&R plan.
Yes, we do have it on the agenda at 7:15 for the appointment.
Yep. So we take care of, since we're early, we should move on to new business.
Yeah, I would say the surveyor will be here.
Okay. Yep. There he is.
Well, there he pops
There
in.
he is.
There he goes. We're ahead of schedule. If you'd like to,
Hi, Jim.
Not sure you can do it.
or can we do that, Rich? Can we bump it up to 7? Maybe we should wait.
I would suggest, it's not a public hearing, but since we posted
Yeah,
time, it'd be good to
okay.
wait.
Sure.
You know.
Okay.
We can go on to,
Good. How are
Why don't we
you?
go on to the Norway Farm division?
yeah, I do see Mr. Kane is,
Is Elizabeth joining us?
yeah, is Elizabeth joining us, Rob?
She was planning on it, but she's had a few circumstances that might detain her a little bit.
Okay.
So would you want us to wait a little bit?
I
For
think
that?
we could go ahead.
Okay.
I
Alright.
believe it's just the lot release and then the surety bond issue.
Okay. So we'll tackle, we'll start with the lot release. I think it'll
Okay.
probably be the easiest place to start first.
Okay, why don't you walk us
Rick-
through that?
Rich, could I interrupt in this probably is where Elizabeth would be good, but I believe the lot release revolves around the bond release. So it might be better to approve that and then go for the lot release. I think that lot release is for the bank with the tri-party agreement.
Okay, all right. So, Rob, I don't know if you saw an email, I sent it out just probably about an hour ago. There was concerns in terms of the bond language that was drafted, that in terms of the way it was written, the language, which I know is the existing G2 form that we have, but in terms of, it was not particularly clear that, you know, satisfaction of everything being done is with the planning board's review of everything being satisfactorily completed. So I sent off, I emailed you and Elizabeth along with the planning board some revised language that town council had drafted, which I think, I know the members have to take a look at it, but John Whittleton, have you had a chance to take a look at it?
I did.
Okay. Does that work from what you were thinking about in terms of language?
Yes.
Okay. So then what I would suggest, well, Rob, if you're comfortable with the language, Attorney Maitland, and then even the bonding company, the planning board could vote that revised language tonight, if the rest of the board is comfortable, and then subject to your review and Elizabeth's review, and then your insurance company, the board can come in afterwards to sign it, so we wouldn't have to move it over to October. So you can do your thing. I think we have some ways to move it along even quicker, but in terms of you take a look at it, if you're comfortable with it, then the board voted it as revised, and then they'll come in and sign it.
Okay, I'm sorry, because I thought that the bond, the last one that I read that we had agreed on, that had that language in there, I thought was a signed document that I returned to you.
Yeah, no, there's nothing on your part in terms of just when it got to the members, they looked at it and had raised a question about being a little bit clear, the language, so that's why it just came back. So it's nothing on your part in terms of what you did was asked prior to today. And so I'm asking on behalf of the planning board, the revised language which was drafted by town council. I don't think it's cumbersome or onerous to you.
No, I know, but I thought that revision had already been made, and the bonding company had already signed off on it.
Yeah, this is a second revision, you know, in terms of, so what
And this goes back to what we discussed at one point, is we're revising the original G2. Town council made their comments about it. The surety company wanted to make sure that we had everything signed, sealed, and delivered. And I did what you had requested. And now we have another revision outside of legal opinion. And I don't mean to be insultive, but I'm sure there are ways to resolve it, but I guess you're asking me to go back and have the surety company rewrite some of the language in there.
No, they don't have to rewrite the language. It's already been drafted. So if you had, I've already had town council redraft it with a revision. So the planning board, at least, you know, I think with the exception of John, well, I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I think if John's good, which I think he just said he was, the rest of the board will be good with that change. So it's just it's a revision. It's already been drafted by town council. As long, if you're okay with it, have you had a chance to look at your email to see it?
No, I was trying to do that. Maybe the best thing to do is just take up some new business and I'll review this and we can get back at it when time allows.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, we have some other things we can tackle.
Okay. If I could just check and make sure that I have that email, that would be great.
I'm looking at it. It's very minimal change, right?
Yeah, it is.
And then maybe.
Well, I guess the issue is the company we're dealing with is in Texas, and the local brokerage company is here in Norwood, Natick, and it just gets complicated.
I think I have a pretty, hopefully, expedited way to take care of this.
Okay.
You know, in terms of, if you guys are okay with the language, I think it's it's a change the board's comfortable with. I don't think it's substantially or significantly changes the language. I think it's more clear to everybody. Like town council said, hey, I can see the point, and that's why it's proposed to be revised. And yes, you are correct. This is all based off our original form, which for our homework on our side going forward, we need to just, I would take this and update our regs to reflect this more recent change, because I think it's clear.
I don't see anything from you, Rich. I have two from Betsy about the links that I just sent in.
Okay.
What time did you send yours?
Hold on, let me.
I'll forward this to Rob right now.
I mean, literally, we're looking at what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 words. Removing 2 words and adding 10.
I just sent it, Rob.
We're not gonna remember if we agree to it.
Yeah, so
I got it, Bets.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll catch up with you in a little bit after I have a chance to review it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Yep, we'll circle back to you.
Circle back, yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Rich, so do we have something that's, 2 5-minutes, so then we can do the A&R? Maybe the Toils End.
yeah, I can do that one
We do
pretty
that.
quickly.
Yeah.
So I had forwarded revised language for Toils End, which is actually Fox Run, and with some revised language recommended by town council. I forwarded it last week to Pulte, and I think they've lost track of time in terms of when this meeting was. So they just sent me stuff today with some comments, so I have to forward it to the board and to town council to review it. So it's really, you can't really take any action tonight on it.
Okay.
So we just have to
So
take a look at it and
we're probably close. We just need
we're close. Yeah.
Real close. There's a few
Yeah.
probably last minute adjustments. Okay.
I did look at it quickly, at least in terms of Brian Lupin, who's the finance director from Pulte. He had provided some explanation of why he wanted the tweak, so we could at least take a look at it to
Okay.
understand the rationale.
Okay. Understandable. All right, we will look forward to receiving that from you and then discuss it at our next meeting.
All right, 7:15, you're good
All
to
right.
go.
7:15, Willow Place A&R. Take it away.
I'm back again. For the third time. Hopefully it will go. On parcel A, we wrote not a buildable lot on this one, so the hunt club can. The background of this is the hunt club Hunt Club is gonna give parcel A to the Greaves, you know, and because there's a land dispute, so they're trying to get rid of this.
Okay. So this was a carryover from last meeting where we sent it to town council to review,
Correct.
and council came back with adding that language to the NR plan to
not
say
a lot.
not a buildable lot.
Right.
Okay.
With that addition, there's recommendation that the plan can be endorsed.
Okay. Any questions from the board, comments?
I just want to make sure that John was the one who had the largest contention against this. John, are you now okay with what's going on here? Can't hear you, on mute.
Yes, I am.
Okay. I think we can move forward then.
Anyone else? Nope. Okay. Well, then I say we make a motion to endorse the revised A&R plan for Willow Place.
So moved.
Second?
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I,
John, what was your vote?
I,
Okay. I vote aye, so it's unanimous.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Put the plans in the office, right?
Yeah, Jimmy, you didn't give me the Mylar on that, did you?
No.
Okay. Perfect. We'll get it signed. Awesome. Thank you. All right. That was,
In the office and sign it then, so.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
all right. Have a
Have
good
a
night,
good
Jim.
evening.
I see Elizabeth is
Joining,
joining, right? She's not joined yet?
She's connecting.
connecting right now.
Okay.
So Rich, if we just endorse it with the language the way it is now, what risks do we expose ourselves to? If any?
You're discussing Norway Farms you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, because the change doesn't seem significant from a semantics perspective, in my opinion.
my comments on the change for this, can you folks hear me?
Yes.
Ending terms of surety bonds have been great constellation of the town in previous years as the ending date comes. This particular language here never talks about the completion of the roads being okay with the planning board, only saying that the developer completes the roads, and then we are required to give the bond back, or the surety company can. There's nothing in there for us to confirm that the roads were done according to plan and subdivision regulations and rules. So standardly in contracts like this, it's always a phrase in there is agreement by both parties and not just by one. This language here only has completion of the roads by one party. But then that same paragraph goes on to say that in the event that they want to extend it after the 24th, 2024, excuse me, that the planning board does have to approve that. But there's nothing saying that the roadway construction has to be approved by the planning board. So I could see a case where the developer says the roads are done and the surety bond would be obliged to give him his release. And don't forget that this is the first time I've seen this contract. I did not review anything before, and town council isn't signing this contract. I am.
Right.
So my first opportunity was to read it this after, and at which time I called Rich previously. It's just, to me, it's important that both parties consent that everything is complete. Minor language.
Right. Absolutely. So it doesn't require us to do anything above and beyond what we would traditionally do. It just further puts into writing the responsibility of us saying, yes, we are satisfied with what's been accomplished.
Exactly.
Yep. Okay. Is Elizabeth on the line?
she may need some time to talk.
You're on mute.
Good luck.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen, and Betsy. I'm sorry I'm just joining you now. And I'm sorry, I just heard the very last of Mr. Weddleton's discussion about, I understand you want to change in the language on the Form G2, this form. Is that what we're discussing?
Correct.
Yes, that's correct. So I believe Rich sent over a email this afternoon with some revisions that came from Mr. Weddleton, from the board, that would clarify what we just talked about.
Okay, I apologize. I did not see.
I know. It's last minute. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just don't think I saw anything.
You put it up on the screen?
I was just about to say.
Okay. I mean, I have no problem just sort of winging it here. I mean, just talking about what the language is.
Elizabeth, I'm gonna forward it to you. In case
All right,
I know
grand.
Rob was on and he actually hopped off so he could review it, so I don't know if you guys wanted to maybe.
It's the portion underneath number 5, this agreement shall remain in full force and effect. So after,
Yes.
so the wording would change to this agreement shall remain in full force and effect until the applicant has fully performed all obligations specified herein to the satisfaction of the planning board, or the planning board has voted to accept another method of securing performance as provided in MGL Chapter 41, Section 91U. So a very minor change.
Yeah, it does look like just a little bit of additional language there that I don't know how that really changes it. Do you mind repeating it again?
Sure, we're also trying to get it up on the screen for you to view it. But it's performed all obligations, and this is where the change comes in. So we pull out and satisfactory after fully. So applicant has fully performed all obligations. New language again starts here. Specified herein to the satisfaction of, remove or the planning board, comma, and then or the planning board has voted to accept another method of securing.
It's fully performed all obligations as the plan specified herein. And what is the issue with the current language? Why is changing the context? It sort of sounds the same context to me. How is it in the current language?
It leaves us open to the opportunity where a developer can say that they've performed everything, and it might not necessarily be up to the specifications of the town that we've been trying to adhere to, and that's kind of left us in a position where we've had to finish work at developers as they've been closing out project.
Has fully performed all obligations. So you're suggesting that the applicant could tell the bonding company, okay, I'm finished, release the bond. Is that what you're suggesting?
Exactly.
Yep.
Has there been any previous experience of this? Because I can't imagine a ship company doing that statement of the applicant alone.
The language is unclear. The language is unclear, and if this point were pushed and where the applicant has got the contract with the insurance bond company, this only calls for his word. And we've had things that were skimpier than this with small language left out of contracts where it wasn't fully specific. No different than, Elizabeth, every purchase and sale, every offer to buy is normally signed where a mutually acceptable purchase and sale is done. This covers us, so he doesn't try to, or anybody else doesn't try to get on by saying, I've completed it and that's it. On the second caveat where it says, or extending the language, there it calls for planning board approval, which is fine. In the first section of compliance, it does not call for a planning board approval. Only the applicant.
Okay, I frankly think that would be construed that since this security bond runs to benefit of the planning board, I think it would only be in the purview of the planning board to release the security. I understand language you propose is in fact a bit tighter. I don't know that a ship company would ever release if an applicant just rang that, oh, by the way, I'm finished, can, we cancel
Well,
on?
since we can't be sure, let's be
I
safe.
understand, and it's your prerogative, it's your farm.
And we do have 3 or 4 court matters going now with other issues as far as what is acceptable for your roadways. And this will
Okay.
just help eliminate that.
We always learn from experience, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Of course. I understand, and I personally have absolutely no objection to the change in the language. I just wish we'd had a little heads up because I know he's very anxious to get out of his obligation with the trust. It's costing him a lot of money, and we could wrap this up.
I read it at 2 o'clock and I got back to Rich at 2:05. Since I'm signing the contract in town council, I'm the one to be reading this thing before it's documented and executed.
I understand.
So we
and
do
I
have a,
absolutely concur.
Attorney, we do have a means to expedite this. In terms of if you're comfortable with the tweak, the planning board could vote this tonight, subject to, if you need to run it by the surety company to make sure they're okay, the planning board could vote to sign it and just come in and sign it. So it doesn't need to.
I think that is fine. I mean, again, I don't have any language usable. While I haven't really heard of language with Rob, I think it's more a timing issue. I just had a bit of heads up. This could have been done, but we may not in the bonding come sign off anyway. Of course, have to have them also review it and whatnot. But if the board is willing to make this on the form and get it to us, we will get a surety company. I imagine they have a problem with it, honestly, because my interpretation, what I've heard, it is actually exactly as reads. I wholeheartedly agree, a little tighter protection of the interest, and that's what the surety bond is for. Rob, I know I haven't had a chance to confer. I see no problem with the language. If the board is amenable to voting to approve it tonight, we'll get it back to the surety company, maybe get it back yet this, get it signed off, also get the release to the Rockland Trust signed simultaneously, then you can get your escrow funds released from them, and we've only lost, maybe a couple days, a week at most. What do you think?
No, I'm fine with that. I'm just disappointed in town council revising the original G2 that everybody's been working off of. And I'm concerned about the surety company want to do a finalized form until everything was signed, sealed, and delivered. So
I know, I
and
understand.
I don't want to, I'm just saying, I don't want to, everybody on the board and everybody in the town halls work great with me. So if that's the way it stands tonight, I'll do my best on this end. So
So in terms of, yeah, hopefully, I think that's all we're trying to do, to work quickly to take care of you and protect the town. And so in town council quickly turned it around to actually address the concern that was raised. So we did it pretty quickly. Yep. I mean, I know it came at the last minute, but we've kind of covered it in a couple hours, if that, at best. So sorry about that in terms of.
If that's the least of our problems today,
Yeah. No, I think that's a very reasonable solution. And if I could just ask you, Mr. McCarthy or Betsy, if you would be kind enough to actually make the form change, because the bonding company, I know, doesn't like to see ink outs. I mean, if there's a blank that's filled in, that's one thing, but they don't want to strike and amend language. So if I could trouble you to make that revision so we can get it right to the bonding company, if you would do that, I'd be most appreciative.
Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow
Thank you.
morning.
Okay, excellent.
okay, thanks for all your help.
So a vote's in order first, right?
Yeah, we need to make a motion. Well, I guess, is there any other further discussion?
Yeah, there is. So Attorney Mayland, we didn't get to the lot release yet. Rob wanted to wait till you got on board with on the Zoom call. So we do need to take care of that.
I apologize.
No, that's okay.
I apologize for the delay.
No worries.
No,
worries.
actually, it worked out fine.
We did some other business.
We were a little ahead of schedule,
Yeah.
so.
So the lot release and then the extension of time
Right.
to complete.
I think they're the two other, and also
The release of the lender's security
Right.
agreement.
So do you
Right.
want to?
yes, certainly. Well, on the lot release, again, this is for 9A. which was originally acted on the covenant. And again, this is a housekeeping. The original lot 9A, I'm sorry, lot 9, the lot through configuration of property line speaking lot 9A. So speaking original release did cover lot 9, and this is helping for the purposes of a nice clear title. We're not really asking things substitute. We're simply asking that Form 9A be substituted on the Form H for line, so the title is here.
I thought we did the last meeting.
We did the 9.
We did do the A, but we didn't have this,
It wasn't on the form. Was that the issue?
No, it was the affordable housing we
Right,
did
right.
the last time. And I frankly missed that that it also has to do with the original covenant of the planning board,
Okay.
also needed to be released.
Okay.
So
Okay.
my
That makes sense.
apologies.
That's right.
Okay.
All right,
Alright.
so, should we circle back and, we need to circle back and finalize the surety bond. So we
Yeah.
need to get a motion. So we don't want you to go yet, Elizabeth, but we need to.
Okay,
we need to get-
I've got
we
two
need-
other items
right,
to discuss.
Let's take these
Let's
in
go with
order.
the bond. Yep.
Yep, so let's make a motion to amend the surety bond with, with the language that, do we want to read off the language, or?
That states, "This agreement shall remain in full force and effect until the applicant has fully performed all obligations specified herein to the satisfaction of the planning board, or the planning board has voted to accept another method of securing performance as provided in MGL Chapter 41, Section 81-U."
Okay.
That's good. That-
So moved.
That closes that out. So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
All,
Do we have to do roll call, or
do we need to do,
just
I
in there?
use his voice.
okay, so all those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Oh, thank you, John. All those opposed? Okay,
Opposition?
passes unanimously.
Okay.
Okay, so
Thank you,
then,
gentlemen.
on the release of Lot 9A, so we need a motion to approve the document it's a
yep, so.
Form H.
Yeah, Form H.
So we need a motion to approve the revised Form H for release of Lot 9A.
And that's from the original subdivision covenant.
From the original subdivision.
Or
covenant.
Normandy Farms, right?
Yep, for Norway Farms.
Norway Farms. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Vice Chair votes aye, so that is unanimous. Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you again, gentlemen.
So now we'll go to the extension and then the release of the tripartite?
Thank you, yes, okay.
Okay.
The request for the extension of time to complete the open space subdivision. This is the original covenant Form F. The date for complete at that time was scheduled as 28th, 2018, which of course has come and gone. And in order to have the surety company have an act date and not come into an expired subdivision, we're simply asking that date be extended. Now, what I did note, and I apologize, I'm just catching this, on the original Form G2, new surety bond, date was stated at the very bottom paragraph of first page that is completed by September 1st, 2024. In this document that I prepared and sent to you, I had requested an extension through November 1st, 2024. And the reason for that was I wanted to make sure we got through town meeting. I don't know if you have feelings that those dates should be consistent. If so, obviously, date or change the date bond to make them consistent with one another. I just want to have an experience on the subdivision approval when putting a new bond, and we need to have a new completion date. Obviously, the delays, including the subdivision, I believe have legitimate due to supply issues and all sorts, it's not within the applicant's control. I think the subdivision actually has moved along quite nicely. It's about halfway through, and that we will favorably consider this request again to keep us in not being in an expired approval status. So whatever date the board prefers, I believe fine with us. I just want to make sure we got through town meeting, the fall that we're anticipating the roads to be completed. Why I chose the date of November 1st.
Our meeting is normally the middle of November.
Oh, okay.
You want to change the date?
Yes, can we do December 1st? Can we go to December 1st?
Yeah.
Great.
We can do that. Rich, what are your thoughts on?
Are you okay with September on the surety bond within November?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question that comes up is the two dates are different. The surety bond and this extension date differ. Is that going to be an issue?
Because if, just perchance, if this didn't happen, we would be well into, by September 1st, we'd have to be pretty far along, to meet November in terms of town meeting and all that. So we actually probably would be into like July, I would say probably July or August. So.
You're talking about after the July or August after town meeting or before town meeting?
No, so if we were theoretically to accept this road in the fall of '24,
right,
we'd have to know by, the summer, basically, so.
Right, but you don't want the threat of the bond being released until it's been approved town meeting, right?
You also have the opportunity to leave the date of the bond as it is and the date of the extension as it is. And if time comes and it's still not completed, you could ask for another extension of the roadway. And knowing things as I do, I wouldn't suggest that by 2024, it's all going to be done and have all the paperwork done to go to town meeting. You recall, Elizabeth, we're still waiting on Bristol Pond that was coming before town meeting 2 years ago.
Yes, sir, I absolutely know. I know that. I understand. Well, then do you want to leave?
You can always apply for another.
I beg your pardon?
I always apply for another extension. That's
Okay.
the date. So as the way they are.
Then we'll do that. We'll leave the dates as we are.
Yep.
That
Okay.
makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, so we need a motion then to approve the request to extend the time date to September 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Vice Chair, aye. So that is unanimous. Okay.
Again, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Then the last matter, if I have it correct, is the vote to release the tripartite agreement to vote, put the surety bonds in place for security.
Contingent on the execution of the bond.
Correct. Yep.
Correct. So any further discussion on that? It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so we need a motion to release the tripart agreement. Let's see, do you want me to read this in here?
You have the,
Do you have, so what was the original agreement?
so there's a release in your packet on page 4.
It was, so you would
Oh,
need,
release of lenders, so do we want to read this entire?
You don't have to read the whole thing. If you want, you could reference it.
Okay, so we need a motion to release the tripart agreement contingent upon replacement of the new surety bond.
Correct.
That be enough?
As amended.
As amended,
Surety bond as amended.
surety bond as amended. Okay. Correct.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Vice Chair votes aye, so that is unanimous.
Awesome.
Again, gentlemen, thank you so very much. very, very appreciative. And then we'll follow with you, Richard, when that's completed and get it to the bonding company straight away.
Okay.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
flexibility.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. And again, I apologize for my tardiness. Thank you, gentlemen.
No worries.
No worries.
Apologies.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for your help, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Rob.
And Betsy,
Have a good night, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good night, Betsy.
take care. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is discuss the potential fall town meeting zoning changes.
Correct.
So we have a couple. We have floodplain and the stormwater.
Yeah, so we can go to the stormwater bylaw first. I think
All the way in the back, right?
be
It's this stuff with
Pull it up
beta.
too.
correct. I sent you a marked up, well, actually the bylaw in its form. That would be for town meeting vote, would strike through
Yep.
in bold. So the town of Norfolk has a MS4 permit from Environmental Protection Agency as relates to stormwater, which many communities have throughout the country. MS4 stands for Small Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, i.e. MS4, just so you know the,
Okay.
help you with the acronym there, right? So, in terms of the town of Norfolk, we had already had significantly greater requirements in terms of stormwater management than in many communities, surrounding communities, in terms of, John well knows, because in terms of regulating stormwater in Norfolk, the town regulated rate and volume, so pre and post to match. Stormwater regulations are based on pre and post rate, not volume. So hence you see much larger stormwater systems in Norfolk that you would see otherwise in other communities. Yes. So hence that's why you have big stormwater, and so not to go too deep, but Rentham similar, Plainville similar. So there's a legacy of how that got to be, but need not get into that depth of it. In terms of the MS4 permit, one of the requirements is we need to make changes to bring ourselves in compliance because we're in the Charles River Basin. Their phosphorus is one of the which is a regulatory contaminant, needs to be addressed. So one of the changes is increasing the TSS removal to 90%, which is above, right now it's presently 80%. So that change, which will increase requirements. We have no choice. We're in the Charles watershed, so we need to comply with that through the stormwater regulations. The other aspects of it are more administrative. It's not really, there's some defining of terms. But I do have, so this is the vote to place it on the warrant. It is a general bylaw, so there wouldn't need to be a public hearing. You can choose, if you wanted to have a hearing, we could, but there's not a requirement to because it's a general bylaw. What I had planned is for the October 12th meeting, having Barry La Riviera, our Assistant DPW Director, who's really handling the stormwater from the DPW side of it, along with Paul Smith from Beta Group, who's working with the town on the compliance for the MS4 permit, to have them available in October for Q&A that the board might have. And then the week prior to that, the advisory board is meeting, so both of those gentlemen be going to the advisory board to kind of explain what we need to do as to comply with our MS4 permit. We should have had this done actually in June of this year, so we're a little bit past in terms of making these changes. So there is a little bit of a clock ticking in terms of us compliant with one of the permit provisions. So I just want to let you all know that. What I'm here is to ask on behalf of the town of Norfolk, DPW, and you as being the stormwater permitting body to put this on the warrant. And like I said, if you have more substantive questions, we can get into it. Not necessarily tonight, because I'm not deep. I mean, you know, if you have a question, maybe I can answer it, but there might be questions that I can't have an answer. I'd have to get back to you on.
Rich, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Years ago, the DEP required the town to fix all of the illicit drainage dumps in the town, whereas by a drainage system would dump it directly into raw land. And we were giving a timetable to fix all of these illicit discharge areas. I don't think we've done much, if anything, on that, have we?
Good question. That's a great question. One I have an answer to, so I hopefully have to.
I was looking, the ZBA has a file that you were attending, and it was on a combining of a lot of wetland area over, I think it's on Miller Street. And they're combining two lots, and one of the lots the town sold at auction. And that particular lot, I think it's at the corner of Miller and Myrtle. That particular lot has an illicit discharge right there on the lot. So my question was gonna be, whose responsibility is for that, where the town is selling that?
That's another good question.
Remember the case? It's all right.
Question.
Nobody brought it up, but the town sold that with an illicit discharge on it, and now it's the onus, I believe, of the person that bought it at auction, but then again, the town never mentioned that.
Okay. Well,
All interesting and fortunately slightly unrelated to the.
you gave me some more homework. I don't have an answer to. I'll have to.
Just to do with the fixing of the DEP and EPA regulations, that
Yeah.
we don't have a plan to move on them as we get them.
I know we do, as far as, well, it's not totally related, but somewhat related. We do have applicants sign, certification that they won't make any illicit discharges to the stormwater, but this is an existing problem. So let me find out from DPW, and I'll have them, or through me, I'll get back to you on that one. I don't know specifics on that one. I was expecting other questions from that one.
I'm just reading through this. It doesn't seem like there's anything that jumps out at me that tightens or loosens anything in particular. It looks like a lot of just cleanup.
There's some cleanup, yeah. I think overall, I think the bylaw is, like I said, because we were ahead of the game in terms of, so for us to get to where they need to be, for other towns to get to where we are, it's significant. And,
It looks like the big thing is the change in phosphorus from 80 to 90%.
yeah, that is the big change.
That looks like, yeah.
What would the ramifications be if for some reason this didn't make it to the warrant or got voted down?
So we would be subject to probably being fined from the EPA.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that would be the.
So tonight, you're not looking for us to go through explicitly
No,
to all
tonight.
the changes, you're
so-
just looking for us to make a motion to put this on the town
Yeah.
warrant.
There is
for
a,
fall meeting.
yeah, to ratify. In terms of, there is a placeholder already on the warrant, but in terms of putting it on the warrant, like I said, if, some of the, we need to kind of follow through with it. I would like to follow through, and then if something comes up, we need to do different action, pull it or whatever, we can do that, but hopefully not.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like we need to get this addressed post haste. We're actually kind of behind.
A little bit behind, yes.
Okay. Any other thoughts, Gary?
Nope, nothing on that.
John, any further thoughts?
Nope.
Okay. So you need a motion, then?
Yeah, motion to sponsor this be placed on the November 9th town meeting warrant.
Okay, we need a motion to sponsor the proposed stormwater management changes for on the town meeting on November 9th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Vice chair votes aye. It's unanimous. Okay, so we
All right.
Now the
have
floodplain?
floodplain.
Yeah.
Was that was in our packets here, right?
Yeah, it precedes it.
Packet.
It's after the Form H.
So what I,
So this one I looked at previously, there was one section, it seems like it just needs to be removed, the D5, C5 recreational vehicle placement. There's nothing underneath that placard, or that title heading. So I don't know if it's relevant to keep it in or not.
Oh, because you removed, well, oh, right.
It doesn't look like there was anything under it to begin with. It looks like there's just a random header calling recreational vehicle placement, D5, C5 on the floodplain.
Well, it's one of the items that's, doesn't it relate to one of the items that's excluded, prohibited?
yeah, so.
Ah,
D5
okay.
It's
Okay,
Yeah,
It's an
it's under the excluded.
got
Correct.
it, okay.
So what I, just to kind of segue and give you, in terms of the there's two bylaw versions here. One is, I call it the blended version, which is taking our existing floodplain bylaw and then incorporating what's being pushed out from FEMA down to every municipality to make sure they're promulgating new regulations relative to the floodplain. So I've blended it to put in what's in terms of our existing floodplain bylaw. The other version of it is a complete move and replace with the model bylaw that's been put forward by FEMA through the Department of Conservation and Recreation at the state level. So it's really, there's two versions of it. Accomplishes the same overall objective, but it's a little more streamlined, I would call it, in terms of the using the floodplain model bylaw. It also, one of the things that does change in here, or to clear, is the administration of the floodplain bylaw would be through the position, the conservation agent. So I know that our present conservation agent is, she's not too thrilled in terms of having additional responsibility as being the floodplain administrator. Enforcement's through the building department because it is a zoning bylaw, but the administration aspect of it would be through the conservation. I think there's kind of a connection in terms of, more likely or not, activity within the floodplain is going to be jurisdictional to conservation. But there are some newer things that need to be regulated, which, again, it's one of those things that, we're at the bottom, so it's pushed down in terms of somebody goes to put a fence in the floodplain, they're supposed to get a permit. In terms of somebody goes to pave their driveway going forward, they're supposed to get a permit. So now we're going to be in the position, unfortunately, that, and those two things I mentioned to you, and that needs to be in our bylaw, which isn't today, that we're going to need to probably be policing, to be honest with you. People don't, I mean, if it's jurisdictional conservation, if somebody's paving the driveway, fine, we'll probably know about it, right? I could envision people paving the driveway and they're not telling us, right? I mean, you wouldn't do that. So, same thing with a fence, right? So if a fence less than 7 feet, you go put a fence in your backyard, it might be in the floodplain, you're gonna hire a fence company. But that's something that going forward, FEMA's saying we need to be regulated. So, we're not overly thrilled in that sense that we have these new requirements that we're gonna have to enforce at the local level. But those are some changes that are in there that are different from today. So we do have some time. We are up against it in terms of time. I did reach out to DCR. So in terms of, we go to town meeting, to answer your question, which you talked about the previous bylaw. We go to town meeting and it doesn't pass. We do need to have it done by next May, because the maps should be updated by the end of this year in terms of the state, and then you got 6 months from them. So that would put us into next year. So we do have a little bit of time. So if you pick one path, you don't like it and it doesn't work, we got to come back at it, but we need to get this done. Because the ultimate thing is if there are incidents that happen from that could be storms, could be the winter. You know, we've had storms over the winter where FEMA's reimbursed towns and cities, or even, you know, during the summer, whatever those are. Without having this in place, we could run the risk of not being reimbursed from FEMA. So it's something that we don't want to, we're in a catch-22 in some respects, but.
And what flexibility do we have on the language? It sounds like it's just being passed down and we kind of have to adopt it.
It's being passed down, it is.
So there's not really much choice.
What would be the harm in just doing
the model?
Just accepting the model, the language provided by FEMA? You said that's a more simplified, streamlined.
Yeah, I don't think
you included that, did you?
I did. Should have done both. I hope you did. Let's see the packet.
I've just got the beta afterwards. Unless-
Does anything actually change for citizens aside from just requesting a permit?
I think so, yeah. Rich, I have a question.
Sure.
On my years at the Concom, right now, you can build in a floodplain as long as you provide compensatory storage somewhere else on the lot. Is this saying that that is now done?
No, you could still build in a floodplain.
You can still.
Just need more permits.
Yeah, you need you need a permit. So that permit that you did before will be handled internally.
What I'm trying to understand is, aside from the burden of requesting a permit, does anything change for the people living in a floodplain when they want to do the things you're driving? I want to put in a driveway, I want to put up a fence. So they just need to ask for a permit.
Yeah, but you do have to. So as part of the permit, you need to address compensatory storage. So I mean, to John's point. So that could be the. You're right. I didn't include the. I think if you want to.
So the objective tonight, though, is we need to get this,
You could pick a path, right? So.
we need to make a motion to get this on
Right.
for town meeting in November. We
You
don't
have to finalize.
We don't have to finalize the language.
No, you don't have to
tonight.
finalize it in terms of which path, you know, because, well, like I said, one blended version versus
Right.
the remove and replace. So,
Yeah, I don't have the removal and
Yeah.
replace in front of me, so I can't.
oh no, you should have remove and replace. You
That's
do
the
have.
one that we have,
You
yeah.
do have that. one.
Oh, this is the removal. and-
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The
so-
copy paste is the one that we don't have.
So the blended, I do not have.
No. You have blended. That's what you have there. We
Yes.
don't have is the model, which is
The
just
model.
yeah.
Okay.
I
Sorry.
think I.
Yep.
I apologize. I think I did.
Do I have it in the, oh,
It
here
should
it
be in the
is.
packet.
Is
yeah.
it this Mass 2020 model floodplain?
Yeah.
Has anyone reviewed this yet?
Oh, not that one.
That's it.
Look in the meeting packet. See if I stuck it in there.
Rich, has anybody outside of you reviewed this yet?
Yes, so I've forwarded it to the building department, so they've taken a look at it. I have forwarded to Janet to take a look at it too. Actually, you know what, if you go into the, excuse me, so if you go to the zoning bylaw folder. Should be in there. Yeah, so I forwarded to, so building department, so in discussion with the building department in terms of the bylaw, their preference would be to go with the remove and replace in terms of, you know, follow model, instead of trying to blend these two together. And of course, you know, they also were happier in terms of, you know, shifting kind of the administration side of it to conservation because there's kind of a synergy there, as opposed to them having to be the administrator of it. So what's going to happen is in terms of, we're going to have to put together a permit that, so for the driveway, the fence and all that, you're going to have to, which again is going to be a little bit of a,
To put up a fence, you need to do what?
Get a permit?
if you're in the front.
Aside from the permit, but
Yeah.
but beyond that, you need to, John was talking about making storage space for
If you're
any-
building in a
If you're building a
floodplain.
floodplain,
You
but a
need-
fence wouldn't.
Well, it's the same thing, it's pulling, that's what I'm trying to understand.
So go to
It doesn't
Maybe
substantially
it's just-
change what we've been doing before, though.
September 1st.
Only that you need additional permits if you're.
That's not what they're saying. They're saying that there's additional
Oh, yeah,
burden
this
that
one, September
equates to
1st,
dollars
yeah.
and cents.
Yeah, there you go. What's that?
There is additional burden aside from the permit that equates to dollars and cents for someone living in the floodplain wanting to do any construction.
It could be, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
You know what makes it more interesting for the board to know? Norfolk is one of the few towns in the region that not only has a floodplain map, you're required to have a 100-foot buffer around the floodplain. So if you're doing anything within 100 feet around the floodplain, comes under conservation rule, and you've got to go through the whole same permitting process. So it really does end everything out more so.
Yeah, so in terms of what I meant, so if you, Betsy, if you go to D, so D5H is that's kind of the meat and potatoes of this, where we talk about the permit, so,
D5H, right there.
D5H, yeah.
T5H?
So this is where I'll call it,
Oh, yours is different, yeah.
yeah. That's the model one.
Yes.
If you want to look, I can tell you where the page is.
It's okay.
So in terms of what I just said to you, that, you're gonna need to get a permit, so anything that triggers, these triggers, so within the floodplain district, new construction, changes to existing buildings, placement of manufactured home, placement of agricultural facilities, fences, sheds, storage facilities, or drilling, mining, paving, or other development that might increase flooding, adversely impact flood risks to other properties. So that's where, a good amount of this was already covered in our existing bylaw, but we certainly didn't deal with fences, sheds, not necessarily storage facilities. I mean, that, it's kind of a broader term, but those are things that will change for people going forward.
I think we're okay in the drilling and mining, but. the others-
Yeah.
Never know.
You never know, but but paving, I mean, that again, that's something
Yeah.
that would be significantly different from today. So there will be, so to answer your question, Gary, I mean, yeah, there will be a potential increase
Yeah.
burden on a resident, because they're gonna have to, apply for this permit, and of course, I could almost guarantee, would think, part of this permit's gonna be, are you reducing flood storage within the floodplain? And, you're gonna have to hire probably an engineer, probably a surveyor, right, to,
Just for fence?
And
the
when-
fence is more the obstruction of it,
Okay.
but,
And if the answer is yes, do they still get to do whatever they wanted to do? So I want to extend my driveway by 20 feet and create 2 more parking spaces, so I'm stealing from the floodplain?
you're gonna have to make it up, more likely,
Really?
yeah. I mean,
How do you make it up?
you're gonna have to create additional flood storage,
Really?
yeah.
Okay, how many people does this affect? Approximate?
And I don't know. I have to kind of do some homework to see if we can kind of get an aggregate in terms of how many,
Yeah. But if it's voted down, you lose funding, is what you're saying? The town loses funding?
not as of right now. So, so for the fall, and so, bear in mind, this is,
We have 2 town meetings, you basically said, we gotta get this approved for the
yeah,
next
you
2
have,
town meetings.
you have two town meetings. So, if you, in your thought process, think, maybe we should do a little bit more work and bring it in May, but we have no more breathing space, so to speak. So if we need more, if in terms of homework to be able to kind of answer questions, we certainly could do that. But if you want to do that before presenting to town meeting or in process, I guess that's kind of the question.
Yeah.
Really, we have no choice as far
We
as.
got to get something done, no choice at the end. So at the end of the day, by next June, we got to get changes done. Now you could, another option, again, you could put one of these forward, we'll have the public hearing, and then, you could vote to table it too. as an option. I think my general concern, in one sense, I like remove and replace, but the blended, I like in terms of, for if I'm a resident, to see, okay, this is being removed, this is being replaced, kind of what the overall, it's a little, I would say probably cleaner if I was to look at it to see how it's being changed, what the effect is potentially,
Yeah.
but
If you go with the blended,
yeah.
do we then have to send this to FEMA to get their approval since we're not using their
Yeah, so
language?
So I have already sent that to the state. So this is probably the third version of this bylaw, draft bylaw,
Okay.
in terms of getting comments from them. And I've asked them today to say, look, I'm discussing this tonight. I need your final answer by October,
Okay.
essentially, for the planning board, that you're good with this bylaw. So this goes as is. It makes a way through the town meeting, the AG's office, you're good. So I'm waiting to hear back on that from them. It's just a question of, like I said, there's pros and cons, different version. I know there's people that would probably like to try the easier version. I guess the remove and replace. But I don't know. I think I like.
So you're leaning towards the blended.
I feel more confident in terms of kind of be able to kind of present this and answer questions in terms, all right, here's.
It's like smaller scope of change, is that what you're saying?
No, I just think it's easier to read. So in terms of the reader and who's affected, okay, so like if we go to page 1, we've added more. So the first page, what's in bold print, these are all the newer provisions that are added in the purpose from FEMA, which, we have. So the first 5 we already had, which they liked, but these other,
They added 6 more.
they added 6 more. So in the model bylaw, we just have these 6, we don't have the 5, right? So what we already have, they were fine with those go out. So now you're just meeting so the 6 purpose visions are there. If you go, so if I go to page 2, huh?
No, I was just gonna say they're kind of ambiguous.
Yeah.
I don't know what to read into any of those.
Eliminate hazards to emergency response officials.
Yeah, could be anything.
Right.
Right.
Avoid the loss
I
of
feel like I'm gonna
utilities.
get arrested just driving home. It's,
Eliminate the costs associated with the response and cleanup of flooding conditions. So
Don't drive home through a floodplain.
Yeah. Well,
But someone has to enforce this too.
Right.
So whenever something is modified in the floodplain, people have to ask these questions before,
these are the
it can be
purpose.
approved.
yeah, these are,
Yeah.
obviously there was over time, lower the, this is probably, I'm not saying we wouldn't have these issues in Norfolk, but this is a much larger issue for other communities in terms of, structures within the floodplain, and then, storms, and then you got a house that's in a floodplain that doesn't meet floodplain, and people, so it's a lot more complex. I don't work, in a community where this is a much, it's an issue. It's a concern here, but I'm not saying in terms of,
It's not a widespread issue. Like
not as significant that would impact residents per se.
do we have visibility into the other towns and how they've adopted this?
So they have the choice either bottle or what they have and blended in here.
But we
So,
don't know what anybody's done to date.
It's been a mix, so there's, I don't have
They
any.
already through town vote, do you know that? Is there-
I could ask her and see. I can ask and see who's, in terms of our neighbors,
Which ones are
Yeah,
complying
which
with-
ones have come out of the end with it?
Yeah, and which way they went.
Yeah.
With
Um,
just cut it and replace the whole thing, or
Yeah.
blend it.
Yeah, it also doesn't seem like the same wetlands, which although you struck wetlands out of the same wetlands protection would be in place. FEMA's might be looking at things with a little bit more blinded or just a focus on flood. Whereas we're a town, I'm reading some of this has to do with the aquifer that we draw water off. Is that correct or no?
Right, so there's some overlap, right? The
Yeah.
flood, the aquifer is gonna be in the floodplain, but we have the aquifer protection, which kind of layers.
Yeah.
And in fact, this deals with the floodplain. So we do have overlapping regulations, for sure. In terms of the zoning bylaw, I did remove wetland because I think I want to be clear to people, this is really regulating the floodplain. We do already have, the Conservation Commission has a general wetland bylaw which regulates activity within, wetland resource areas and buffers and so forth. And there is overlap, of course, right? So there is that, but at least try to clear it up. We also have not to go off path, so to speak, but we have a watershed protection district in our zoning bylaw.
So will there be different layers? The floodplain is one area that's carved out that all of these things apply to, and then there's the wetlands protection, which is totally separate.
They're all overlays, right? So
There's
you can be hit
overlap,
by
right?
both.
So if somebody's in the floodplain and
Those are
they're-
different, those two, right? Wetlands overlay is different than floodplain. Is floodplain just specific to the Charles?
No, there's
Or the-
other border bodies, rivers and streams that have.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of, that resource, and I say that, right, the Charles River, the rivers and streams, they have a floodplain associated with them. And there's there's other wetlands that have not a floodplain, but they have buffers to them.
List on page 7.
Yeah.
But we do strike it out, so it makes it a little bit more ambiguous.
Yeah, so in terms of the flood, we're going to the floodplain maps that are promulgated by FEMA.
Okay.
Do you
that-
know how often FEMA updates those maps? Is it every 10 years, or
Be every 10.
I think it's about every 10 years, yeah.
does it get refreshed soon? Like, I feel like floodplains have changed in Massachusetts.
This is a refresh.
Oh, okay, so this...
This is, yeah,
Gotcha.
this
Okay.
is a refresh that's in place. I mean, I'm willing, again, we can,
I almost say we table it, find out what the other towns are doing, pick it up back in October at the next meeting, and can we make a decision then? Or is that too late?
If we,
I think you're looking to move it forward regardless of what the language is. You want to have something that says...
well, I gave you two versions, which,
Well, you gave us one. We didn't get that one.
you're going to give us two versions.
all right, I'm gonna give you two versions.
You will give us two versions tomorrow.
That was an email.
That was in the email?
Was it?
Oh, thanks,
Oh,
Gary, you
okay.
saved me, all right.
Here-
So I
here
gave
you
it
go.
to you.
All
Wasn't in
right.
your packet. You get partial
I don't
credit.
remember seeing that email, but okay.
All right, I get
it's
partial credit?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So you're looking for
I need-
a motion to
I'm at
put
the
this
road
on-
now where I need to have a version to at least put on the warrant,
Because we,
I
oh,
can't-
you actually need a version to put on the warrant.
Yeah, I need a version to put on a warrant. There's time to tweak a version.
I thought I heard you correctly when you said we could postpone to the next town meeting in spring.
We could do that too. Yeah, so
you're-
if we're postponing, then I don't think I would suggest we put anything on the warrant. We just keep working on it.
Right,
And
right.
come back,
Yeah.
You should run the gauntlet and see what goes wrong at the town meeting. That'd be, well, if you're gonna wait till the 11th hour, if something goes wrong.
the one thing I didn't think about in terms of,
So your thought is, let's put something on there.
Something goes wrong. See
And
see why the
thought
people
is-
are
the thought
objecting
is-
to it.
You can
Wait.
mitigate some of that, though, because, like, think about floodplains. Not a lot of people that is. We could provide, even, it doesn't have to be a mail out or a printout. It could be some sort of a, on the website. This is what the floodplain is, just so everybody knows.
yeah.
Because I think one of the fears would be like, oh, would this affect that area in my backyard that fills up as a, when it rains and it's a puddle.
I would
No,
feel
it's not
ignorant
that.
at this point. To Gary's point, we don't even have the numbers of how many people this is going to affect. So I think we need to do some more due diligence around that. We should understand what other towns around us have adopted and how they've adopted it as well. I think that, it stinks that we're looking at an impending decision being required to be made, but I think there's a little bit more work that has to be done before we can really expect the town to vote on it.
I don't think we have a choice though, right? Because
No, eventually they'll have to vote on it, but really the
No, but
decision's fall or spring.
Yeah, but to
wanna-
the point, we could do more due diligence, and then pick a version, then we gotta run with it. Because the one thing I was just thinking about, Gary, if this went to town meeting and it failed, I don't know how, typically you can't reconsider bylaws until it's significantly changed, so I don't know if that's,
Well, then we'd have to go with the other version.
And then that's up to town council to say whether or
you know,
not it's a
so,
significant
I mean,
change.
What are your thoughts?
I like the idea of the blended version. And this is something that maybe Rich could put online. There are state maps where you can go to, and you can find out if your property is in a floodplain. Most people right now, just through their insurance on their home, would know if they're in a floodplain because your insurance rate goes up.
Yep, significantly.
So what's important to note is that this new expanded map, which people that are not in the floodplain now will be affected. I think that's important. And that's something maybe we can give some of the folks a heads up on, but basically it's got to be done. And I think the idea is just to put it in writing that's most understandable. And I would leave that to Rich since he spent so much time on it.
and to John's, for John's point in terms of letting the public be aware, so we do actually have, so our town GIS, we did update it in terms of the most recent, so you can go on there and click on that layer and your property and see if you're in or out. So we can,
And last week, they may have been out, and this week they might be in and need flood insurance?
It happens.
Yeah.
Or
it happens, yeah.
and it goes the other way
I
too.
know on the
But to that
shorefront.
point, in the previous version of the bylaw, we didn't have to notify them. In this version, we do, right?
What's that?
In this version that is in front of me right now, it says that now we have to issue a letter to the property owner regarding potential impacts to the annual premiums of flood insurance and so on. So we didn't have to notify them.
No, we have to
previously.
notify them.
So this does provide a little bit of protection, but it also kind of possibly can hurt them as well.
Yeah.
If you're moved to a floodplain, it's a big deal.
It is,
Because number
absolutely.
one, your insurance goes up, your buildability of your house is affected, you've got to file with conservation and planning board, and the property value would go down.
Yes.
So it's a big deal for the new folks that are involved, so a good idea to let the
Yeah.
new folks that are now involved in a floodplain to know that would be at least the most conscientious thing to do to start. We could do that as soon as the map's available.
So we could, what if you put forward the blend and then you can,
I mean, I agree with John. I think we defer to, Rich's language here with the blended because he's the one that's been working on this and he feels that's the best way to move forward. It's
well, I
just,
think it's, yeah, and the reason why I say is it's clear in terms of just historically, when you take, and it doesn't happen all very often, but when you take and remove a whole section of a bylaw
it scares me.
and then you replace it,
Yeah,
I just see, don't throw the baby out with the water or whatever, so it's, when in doubt, vote it out, all these things come flashing through,
I like the baby in the bathwater, though.
and the baby in the bathwater, but
So-
also when in doubt, vote it out, right? So,
I guess I'm fine with that. In the town warrant, though, are we these sense of black? Because I think that.
no, I don't know why,
That was highlighted.
that was actually highlighted.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, just highlighter.
Xerox.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like different colors.
yeah.
Got it.
So that actually blacked out, that's,
I'm like, all right, he sent us the, it came back and they don't even want us to know what we wrote in here.
So.
That's actually the important part that's highlighted.
Exactly, right? What am I?
I did, sorry. So I did send you out, it's not,
Yeah.
it wasn't redacted.
Okay,
It was the
Highlighted in
highlight.
black,
Yeah, point taken, you're right. I apologize for that.
no worries.
I'd prefer to try the blended. I know Bob, if he's listening, is not gonna be happy, but, because I know he, at least from his point of view, and I get his point, I get it, in terms of trying to improve things in that way, but this is it's looming over our head. I don't want to not get this done.
Yeah, so let's say we go blended, we go town, meeting, it doesn't get voted, what option do we have
Then we'll have to get to town meeting in May.
in May with a significant rewrite?
Yeah.
And that won't just be based on that, because a lot of this is just copy paste from there.
Yeah, exactly. And what I would do, like I said, I would ask, I'll reach out to town council and say, the what if, I mean, if it failed at town meeting in the fall, I don't know, maybe you could even ask, we'll find that out.
That bridge when we get there.
Yeah, I'm gonna I'll find out ahead of time, believe me, I want to do that,
Yeah.
so that way you're prepared. And maybe it's a situation when you don't have somebody, don't take the vote, just IP it and we come back, right? Is that,
All right, and
this is
then,
kind of a unique situation that way.
right, and then to reiterate, you're just looking for us to get it onto the warrant?
Get it onto
and then
the
we can
warrant,
make the
right.
decision at the next meeting, of
Correct.
which version. Okay, and by then, you'll give us the information as to what.
Yeah,
the
so
towns
for
have
the
done.
next meeting, which will be
Number of
October
people.
12th, you'd have the public hearing. I would get confirmation from DCR that what we have is fine, it works. So if it goes through them, goes through town meeting, we're all set in the end.
Okay, I'm fine with
Are
that.
they combined floodplain and stormwater? Is it one warrant, two warrants? And do they both need to be approved by, are they both related to FEMA or only the floodplain?
Just
floodplain.
just
But
floodplain.
to that point, it tightens the messaging that they're both side by side, if we can keep them side by side. I don't get to vote on this, but, because these are standards that are being pushed from higher authorities, right? And kind of packages that,
Yeah.
like, hey, so here's this thing
Yeah.
from FEMA, here's this thing from DCR, we have to get this done or else we get fined,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. And I think the town will be more than.
There's
willing to
penalties on
listen.
both of them.
Yeah.
But then that brings up the 2/3 versus majority vote thing as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing, at least on the stormwater, it's a majority vote, yeah.
Whereas this is a 2/3
This is
vote.
2/3 vote,
Okay.
yeah.
But if we combine them,
Well, we wouldn't, I don't think we
wouldn't
combine
combine
it.
No, I was just saying
okay.
from a messaging perspective, you can
okay,
kind of
all right.
speak to them in the same.
Yeah, they're,
Yeah, because they'll both be on the warrant.
Yeah.
We
Right.
could put them side by side on the warrant.
Yeah.
Yep, I think that's a good idea.
so I'm good with that, the way that we've stated it.
Any other further discussion? Okay. All right, so we need a motion then to amend section D5 of the floodplain wetlands protection district by deleting the following strike through and adding the new language in bold print. And add it to warrant on November 9th.
nice.
Town meeting.
Of the town meeting. Yes. Did I miss any? Is that,
No, that's good.
so, do I have that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the vice chair votes aye, so that is unanimous.
All right, thank you.
All right.
I'll resend it out.
Yes.
I think I already sent it, so it's just highlight. I'll remove the highlights, so.
Yeah, if you could send it out just so it's at the
Yeah.
top of our inbox, that
Yeah.
would be helpful.
Appreciate it.
I'll resend it out.
Okay.
So next on the agenda, oh, okay,
And we did
Meeting minutes.
meeting minutes.
motion to review and approve the meeting minutes from the 8/17 planning board meeting.
And Betsy, you had my one revision. There was a there was a space missing between two words.
Missing a space. Got it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep.
As amended.
As amended. There you go.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Vice Chair votes aye. It's approved. All right, so town planner updates.
Okay, so the first one on the updates is solar projects. So I just, what I wanted to do is to push out to the board some potential solar projects that might be coming forward, just for awareness, which was, one of them was, there's a ground-mounted system proposed on Pond Street, which abuts the water tank that's up the top of the hill, up by the police station. So the town had put out an RFP, request for a proposal, to lease a solar company, a ground-mounted solar project, which the lease, it would go before town meeting. So it would have to be voted on by town meeting, because it would be a leasing of an interest in property. If it does get approved at town meeting, then it would come back to the planning board for site plan approval, like you had done with Meeting House Road, and then also 15 Lincoln Road, which was the call and wait ground-mounted solar project. And it would also require a permit, special permit through the Zoning Board of Appeals for that solar project. So I'm just let you know, upcoming, and it might come back. The other is that the town is looking into potentially adding electric charging stations at different town properties. If you remember, you went through a site plan process for the electric charging station that's over at the Audubon property on North Street. I think if you look through the brochure, it's identical charging station. Excuse me, same program. It's run through Eversource, that they do all the fit up and the put in the charging station, power it up, and so forth on the locations. I don't know. I would have to talk to Matt Hafner, the facilities director. I don't know if the town gets anything out of it, from a financial standpoint or anything. That I need to find out. I don't know.
For the second project, not the first one.
So that's for the charging station. So we had charging station at town hall, the library, the school, etc. That's to be determined if we do that, or not. But I'm just letting you know, because if the town goes forward, it's going to come back to the planning board just for a site plan, in cases where it'd be a modification to another. So the one, the library, all those locations would have to be modified. The site plan to the planning board doesn't need zoning board of appeals approval, but it would need planning board on the site plan aspect of it. There is renewed interest in trying to put the canopies in at the police station.
And the canopy was solar, right? It was a solar
solar.
canopy with charging stations underneath? No charging?
No charging.
Just
That's just electricity.
Okay.
So if that goes forward, it would need, again, site plan modification from the planning board, and then solar would be on the roof. I mean, it would probably come bundled, but that would be back before the planning board. But I do
Realize
know.
that the police station does not have an occupancy permit yet.
Really?
They don't?
Well, do you remember our last meeting with them to go over changes that were made during construction?
Yeah, I do.
And nobody from the department of the reps showed up. And as a result, they stand with a temporary occupancy, and they never came back unless, I would have known, come back to go over the reasons that they made these list of changes that they submitted. Do you remember, Rich?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
I remember the
I thought they-
temporary, but
They did?
wow.
I thought they came back.
Not when I was there.
I thought someone came up, but I might be confusing meetings, the guy that was representing them.
We're gonna look into that.
Yeah, one of the questions was, whose responsibility was it to go over the changes and why they were made?
I remember that, yeah.
So it's hard for modification. Well, I guess they can go for modification without the full occupancy. Or at that time, you could make them get the full occupancy.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
he's got a great memory.
He does, he really does.
What'd you do to him? He's got a lot of homework for you.
I don't know. Hey, John, your signal seems to be fading.
I don't remember what I had for lunch, though.
It's not important.
That's not that
I know
important.
it, I know.
All right, well, geez.
It would be interesting, though, to look at these charging stations that you're talking about at some of the town properties, if the town does get some monetary compensation for that. You know, as
Yeah.
far as usage compensation. You know, when people use it, do they get some of the funds?
Yeah, so,
Does Gary have an electric vehicle?
I do.
Aren't there different vehicles that can only use certain charging stations, Gary? Like, can a Tesla use another one? I know some of the stations are really slow to charge and some are more quick.
That's
And
right.
the question would be that, how do you decide what type of charging station to put in when down the road they may become the federal government's new package they're trying to put through and put 50,000 stations throughout the country? I'm guessing they probably would start to conform them all so they all can charge all different cars.
That probably won't happen because Tesla has the supercharger, but I have a kit of adapters. So if I go to a restaurant or a hotel or something that has a charger, I can fit up the adapters that covered all different chargers that were available at the time I bought my car. If something new has come out, I'm sure I could get another adapter that
I
covers
see, okay.
to my
So when
cable.
you're building,
Yeah, the
when you're
cable was
building a
provided
station-
by Tesla, the adapters they provided as well.
that covers that, then good.
Yeah, but you're right, it just charges at a very slow rate. That's what happens at my house at night when I plug it in the garage.
Yeah.
I think they are getting close to trying to standardize. Now, Tesla is going to be Tesla, but I
Yeah,
think
it's-
the rest of the car companies are, for the most part, using a standardized plug. It's J something. So my wife has a electric vehicle, and I mean, we plug it. She goes to the airport, plugs it in, hotels, plugs it in, and we don't have any adapters. And so she has an account, a couple different nationwide companies that are out there that she has accounts with. And so she just does something on her phone and then it unlocks it, she pulls it out, plugs it in.
Yep, I've seen those.
Yeah, so they're getting more and more universal, but I do believe Tesla's going to kind of stay with their proprietary
Charging stations, yeah.
type stuff.
that's Elon Musk. No, it's just,
But it's just like,
Yeah, you
it's just like
probably
Apple.
won't put in any of those around the town.
yeah. Yeah, no Tesla charge. No, I'm just kidding. All right, well, so I do need to do homework in terms of see if there's something that the town gets for,
Yeah, I don't see why we would do it if we weren't getting something out of it, from just the convenience, personally. I
Because we're
mean,
green.
Because we're, well, you,
no, I hear that, but I mean, why wouldn't we just pony up and put the stations in ourselves and then get some revenue from it?
But the stations are
Over time.
free, right? They're no cost.
these are no cost because,
Just,
right.
what does the temp absorb for cost? The destruction around a site where they might go? Or do they, if they gotta
No,
cut
they
a hole
do-
in to get a cable, they do all of that, right?
yeah, they do all of it.
Okay.
The only we want to think about in terms of nuance, at least when it came to the, going back to Mass Autobahn experience.
Yeah.
I mean, one, they didn't think they needed to come for permitting. So aside from that, right? But that was a big thing, actually. But once we got past that, it was, yeah, this is where we're going to put it. Take it or leave it. So that,
Yeah, and that was on a historical road or what do we
Yeah,
call it? Scenic roads?
yeah, scenic road. So in terms of, that's kind of the nuance in terms of like, this is where we'll put the library. It may not work, and those kind of things. So
Right.
we'll have to kind of figure that out.
And
But
then as far as like maintenance, if it goes down or something, who's
so it's
responding
them, I
to
think
that?
it's them. And I'll
So
double check.
we may not get anything, the town may not get anything out of it, but the
May
town's
not.
also not spending anything to install them and maintain them. So we're
It might,
green.
It
We're
might be
being
more
green.
on the green side of things. You're wearing partly green shirt, maybe?
I'm a very big believer in sustainability, but I'm also a very big believer in financial sustainability as well.
I don't disagree with that. I think.
So they came to the Eversource, or whoever came to the town.
I think actually opposite. I think the town, I think Matt, through the facilities department, is just looking to
Okay.
opportunities to be green, sustainable, and although he's usually pretty on top of trying to ways to help the town financially through these efforts, so I'll ask him and see.
Yeah, nothing's ever free. You're always selling something. You just gotta figure it out.
Somebody's paying, yeah.
Exactly.
Right, yes.
Maybe we can get all the town lights, the electricity covered through Eversource by putting these in. Be a wash.
First, they'll come to our town with LED bulbs and help us change them.
Yeah. Hey, we are, I mean, I don't know, I mean, those solar projects was definitely
Yeah.
help on that end. So anyway, it's more FYI,
Yeah.
So,
on the horizon potential.
right, so basically we have some homework we need to do is review the stuff that you had sent us, if we haven't done it already, just as an overview so that we're prepared
Correct,
for upcoming solar projects.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
In terms of the next topic, which was the wastewater master plan, so we had, at the last meeting, we discussed dates, and the date is October 28th,
Yep.
7 p.m. It will be all virtual to, I think we learned, actually, the virtual option's been pretty, well, certainly the B1 definitely helped out a lot, I think, doing the meeting virtually. Now, we could, if you want, you could be in the room if you want, and then do it hybrid, but
Okay. Yeah.
it's not, we can change it. So, I mean,
that's
it will
fine.
be virtual, but if you want to have the presentation, be here and then broadcast, we could do that too. But anyway, that's the date. In terms of that meeting, I've asked the engineers to prepare a memorandum in terms of next steps. It's from where we off from the study in June to the next phase. So I'll have that available as well.
But we also discuss the town hall building property there and any impending changes that might affect the project.
The
Yeah.
old town hall.
At the old town hall, yeah,
Old
because
town
we
hall?
were looking of going through that property to getting to the field.
Yeah, we will talk about that as well.
Okay.
And they're gonna, in terms of, the fire station too, because that was initially where I
Right.
thought the tanks would be on the ground.
Septic tanks, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll talk about routing. We'll revisit that. So for the 28th, it's really it will be a presentation in terms of a overview of the final report, opportunities, Q&A, but knowing that at the same time, I've asked them to put together a next steps.
And we had a lot of open questions from that first forum.
We
Are
did.
they addressing those in this
So
session
we'll-
as well?
A lot of those open questions will actually have to come into the next steps.
Okay.
Because we didn't get as far as long as maybe we had hoped for in terms of, for example, we hadn't had an opportunity to sit down with DEP, and discuss it with them, what kind of permits, requirements, so forth. That was another
And the
piece of
property
it.
owners for the update of the flow as well was another issue of contention.
Yeah, updated the flow, in terms of the, the routing too, we need to touch on, but also having them, because they had explored the recreational property
Yeah.
behind Freeman Kennedy, how that could happen without no net loss of playing fields, recreational space, that would have to be addressed as part of the plan. So there's a lot of pieces to put kind of as things to be looked at and have a plan to go forward that we need to button up.
Okay.
But we're also asking them in terms of, what that costs, next step. Now, there is some of the money that came from the federal government through the ARPA fund, that their next step activities are fundable through that. So that at least if there's good support, that's a good, a positive opportunity for the town, because prior to that, the town would have had a pledge essentially to seed money, to do this other work, as well as the initial design to get it to get it to, just short of probably shovel-ready, but probably close to shovel-ready, to seek grant funds. So that's the, so now with money coming from ARPA, which is the, I forget I get into those acronym things and I forget.
And that's just a done deal already, right? We've got that.
ARPA, yeah, we've already received half of the, so there's, don't quote me, but it's 3-point-something million, 1.2 came directly to the town. I think we have received some of that money already. We haven't received the full allotment. And then the balance of it went to Norfolk County. And then they're working on a process by which, essentially we would come up with projects to apply for Norfolk. But it's run through the county.
And then is there a timeline to be on that?
Yeah, it's 2024?
But that's just to fund the next steps.
No, in terms of the ARPA money?
Yeah, this is for the project.
Yeah, so that's not related to, so the ARPA money is, you gotta say what you're gonna spend the money, but, so there's time on the ARPA money.
Got it, okay.
And then in terms of next steps with this, that's what we would then we would map out. So,
Okay.
But so we'll talk about it on the 28th.
Okay.
Agreed.
Good.
All right. Next on, any other updates? We'll skip over that. So Southwood Hospital site, I was on a Zoom meeting last week. I know John was on there too with the members from the PIP community, PIP members, excuse me, which are members from, there are Norfolk residents, but there are also members of the PIP that are from Walpole. I don't know if they're from, certainly Walpole, I do know that as the group. So they went into a deeper dive in the history of the site going back to the early 1900s. So it was, tremendous amount of research that was done, put together. So that information was interesting to learn the whole history of the property from a historical perspective and so forth. They'll need to, and then obviously part of this will share it with GFI partners and EnviroTrack, who's their LSP of record, in terms of working towards the environmental evaluation, assessment, and then remediation plan. So there's nothing. So in terms of, actually, I didn't have the grant.
Anyone from the state get involved, or EPA or anybody that's involved in the investigation?
Yeah, so the Department of Environmental Protection is involved with it.
Okay.
There is, and I know they were supposed to have a response to the PIP comments that were submitted back in July. The original date for response back was August 2nd. There was a revised interim date from DEP of September 9th, which it was last week. So they really are, they need to get cracking here, so to speak, to get back to everybody in response to comments.
And do you know if they've contacted GFI? Do they meet with GFI?
Yeah, the state's been in contact with them,
So
so.
the state meets with the PIP group, and then the state meet the same?
No,
people from
no,
the
the
state?
state doesn't meet with the PIP people?
Yeah.
No, the state's not meet with them. I
Okay.
mean, yeah.
All right, that's what I'd asked, if anyone from the state was.
No,
at
that I know
the
of.
meeting. Okay,
No, it's just the PIP group in general.
okay.
But the state is,
So DEP's meeting with the town, DEP's meeting with GFI? At least GFI, you said, but who else do they meet?
everything runs through the DEP into process-wise, so we can meet with the DEP, but in terms it goes through the DEP's office. DEP has said to GFI, well, actually, they gave them a September 9th deadline, which they didn't meet, so now they need to, I don't know how punitive, they're trying to cooperatively make sure they get to, so GFI needs to, their LSP needs to get moving, so to speak. It's got to step the game. Because I know that's a concern, certainly by the PIP members, but also DEP too, There are deadlines for a reason, right? So, so anyway, so we'll have, stay tuned in terms of what comes out of that. We haven't heard, which I I mean, I've already told the board last time. So the grant that we submitted, the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs to do the planning, it's probably October. So I'm telling you something, I wouldn't know the answer yet because it's not due yet, but I would anticipate October, November to hear from the grant. If we're successful in getting the grant awarded, then we would get into, some of the planning stuff, which is, there's stuff that's going to happen simultaneously for sure, but the environmental piece needs to go on. So there's a lot of hypotheticals, right? Because it's going to be based on, a lot of stuff is you got to clean up the property, and the fact that there's an interest from, I think, some of the townspeople, and even the zoning has a residential component to it. So we're talking about a cleanup that has the property and state the residents could live there. So. So in any event, if we get that grant, then we would really, probably next year, we would probably get into that planning process. So you will be, we're also talking about starting the master plan next year, so you will be busy from a planning perspective. So we'll have to kind of manage some multiple things going on, but, so that's the update on terms of, and speaking of planning and master plan, good segue to September 23rd. We'll have a next training session for master planning. I do not have the link yet, so I've asked, we're getting kind of close because that's next Thursday.
It is.
I did go back and look. I didn't have the link till about 3 days before, which wasn't great.
We'll send it to you guys and then we'll post it.
Yeah, we'll send it to you and post it.
Yeah, that's right. I think it was just a few days before.
It was just a few days before. I don't really love that per se. I don't have control over that. It's outside me, but
Okay.
but it is next Thursday night. I
Any
think
follow-up on the recording from that first one?
he hasn't come back to me. I've asked him for it. I haven't got the word yet. So
Okay.
I don't think they're I think they're part-time staff there. So it's not they're not fully staffed organization. So, but I did send out you did get the two handouts that were associated with it.
I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you did that like right.
I did it right after. I got that right away, but the recording I haven't got back. I did email Alan, so I got to follow up with him and see about getting the recording. They're kind of, well, as you probably know, they seem a little bit squishy about this whole releasing recordings, I guess. But I don't know.
Okay. I mean, even if the link self-destructs after a day, I'm fine with that. I just like to.
Yeah, no, it'd be helpful to get the link. Yeah, no, there was a lot of good stuff that was discussed there. So,
Right.
But
Those are the trade secrets they don't want to give away. That's
I'm gonna record it on my own. Who's got a camcorder?
yeah, so.
I do actually.
So anyway,
love
that's a wrap on the updates from myself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any new business, or I'm sorry, any unanticipated new business?
No.
All right. Our next meeting is October 12th. So motion to
turn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are done.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.